Europe 2024. A continent full of people just shocked that other people are moving. Towards opportunity, towards wealth. It's like they discovered gravity, Pip, for the very first time. Oh, the headlines. The debates, the crisis. People from other places, seeking new lives, new jobs, coming to Europe. What a baffling, unprecedented phenomenon. Who could have ever predicted this? Well, you could have, Pip. And so could anyone with a history book, a map, and a mild sense of irony. Because for centuries, Europe was the undisputed global champion of packing a bag, getting on a boat, and rocking up somewhere else to seek opportunity. Except their bags weren't always filled with just clothes and a dream. Sometimes they contained a very official-looking flag and a small, heavily armed escort. Yeah, that happened. Look, if you're watching this on 2x speed, first of all, rude. This is what you missed. Europe used to be the one doing the moving. A lot of moving. And not always in a polite, mind if I join you kind of way. We're going to talk about a very specific type of migration today, Pip. The kind that involved a rather large, heavy suitcase labeled, definitely not loot. And as you'll see, that suitcase is coming home. Okay, Pip, let's rewind. Before the grand empires and the fancy hats, a lot of Europe was, well, a bit of a mess. Overcrowded, hungry. Opportunities were scarce. Famines were common. Plagues were a regular feature, not just a TikTok trend. So naturally, people left. They migrated. They sought better lives. This part, honestly, is just human. It's what people do. If things are bad here, you go there. Pretty simple, right? Our animator only had budget for 5 frames for this entire period. So just picture a lot of sad, hungry Europeans looking longingly at the horizon. Maybe a few of them are humming a sea shanty. A very depressing sea shanty. These were often genuine migrants, seeking land, seeking food, seeking freedom. They were the original pull factor chasers. And many of them found it in places that were, already inhabited. That's where things started to get a little complicated.
Oh, we're just exploring and trading. And oh, look, there's some land just sitting there, waiting for us to claim it. Is this free real estate?
Yes, Europe. Very free. If by free, you mean occupied by millions of people who didn't ask you to show up. We'll get to that. But then, Pip, something shifted. Migration wasn't just about escaping poverty anymore. It became about something bigger, something shinier. And then, Europe started migrating with purpose, with capital, with charters. Imagine a group of tech bros, but instead of disrupting the taxi industry, they're disrupting entire continents. And their pitch deck includes warships. We're not just expanding, we're optimizing global resource allocation. Think of it as a vertical integration of raw materials, Pip. Synergy. Synergy, of course, meant someone else's resources becoming their resources. And those resources weren't just going to feed hungry Europeans. They were going to make a few Europeans very rich. Very, very rich. Look, I spent 6 hours on Wikipedia for this 10-second bit, so trust me when I say this. The line between migrants seeking opportunity and imperial power establishing dominance became blurry. And then it completely disappeared, replaced by a giant, brightly colored flag. This wasn't just people moving anymore. This was a whole new level. This was empire. So, the Europeans kept moving, Pip, and wherever they landed, they brought a little bit of home with them. Not just their language and customs, but their entire legal system, their borders, their idea of property, which is, and I cannot stress this enough, insane. Imagine someone shows up at your house, declares it theirs, redraws your living room with a crayon, and then explains they're doing it for your own good. Yes, it's a new way of life, a better way. We're replacing your ancient traditions with ours. It's called progress, dear children. And the best part? It's free. Just requires all your land and resources. And your soul. My editor added 47 sound effects to this scene because that crayon was very loud. The taking wasn't just about gold or spices, Pip. It was about everything. Land, labor, culture, languages. All under the banner of trade and civilization. They weren't just settling. They were resettling the entire world, often with zero consent. And to facilitate all this magnificent civilization, Europe built stuff. Roads, railways, ports, schools, hospitals. Sounds great, right? Like they were genuinely helping. But take a closer look, Pip. These roads usually led from resource-rich inland areas directly to the coast. To ports, from which resources were then shipped north. The schools? They often taught European languages, European history, and European values. They were designed to produce administrators, clerks, and workers who would help run the colonial system, often looking north for their education, their careers, and their sense of prestige. It was less about local development and more about creating a highly efficient extraction network, a historical supply chain, if you will. And you, my friend, were at the wrong end of it. If you're still watching, you're legally my best friend now. Quick microtask, Pip. Tell me, where did all those resources really end up? No, don't say local development. I'm sure you didn't get that wrong. So, centuries pass, Pip. Empires rise and fall. Flags change. Countries gain independence. But guess what? That Northbound Pipeline? Still flowing. Oil, cocoa, diamonds, copper, bananas, coffee. All that stuff still largely flows from the global south to the global north. Global companies, often with roots in those old chartered companies, still profit massively. And it's not just resources anymore. It's people, educated graduates, doctors, engineers, many trained in systems and languages established during colonial times. They look to Europe or other wealthy northern nations for opportunities that often feel more limited at home. I haven't slept in 36 hours for this, so I'm going to be blunt. The old routes of extraction didn't just disappear. They evolved. They privatized. They became more subtle. But the fundamental direction of flow remained the same. North. Always north. It's not exploitation. It's a talent drain. A brain gain for us. Well, a different kind of gain for them. We call it win-win minus the other win. And here's where it gets truly wild, Pip. You built the roads. You pointed the way. You set up the schools and taught the languages. You extracted the resources and created the economic dependencies. So naturally, people from those places started following the route back. Think about it. If you build a giant well-lit path that leads straight to your house, and then you take all the good stuff from other houses and bring it to yours, don't be surprised when people start walking down that path. You taught me the language, took the resources, and pointed the map north. You said opportunity, so here I am. What did you expect? This was supposed to be out last Tuesday, but this part required a lot of deep thinking about cause and effect. And maybe a nap. It's not some random, inexplicable surge. It's cause and effect on a geopolitical scale. The seeds of modern migration patterns were sown centuries ago, in the very act of European expansion. History doesn't forget. It just takes its time to send the bill. So, here's the kicker, Pip. The ultimate irony, when Europeans were doing the moving. Across oceans, into new continents, establishing colonies, reshaping entire societies. It was called exploration. It was trade. It was settlement. It was progress. It was all very noble and adventurous. They even got movies made about it. But when people from the former colonies, people who speak the languages Europe taught them, who understand the systems Europe imposed, who are following the economic opportunities Europe created, when they move, oh, now it's a crisis. It's uncontrolled. It's a threat to our way of life.
But our travel involved maps and flags and very official treaties. Theirs is just people and boats. It's completely different. This isn't fair.
My lawyer is having a panic attack right now, but I'm just stating the historical record, Europe. And that old suitcase labeled definitely not loot? Well, it's back, but now Europe is trying to rebrand it.
Oh, this isn't loot, Pip. This is heritage. Very valuable heritage. We're just keeping it safe for everyone, forever.
History, Pip, is a bit like a deadpan postman or a very patient accountant. It just keeps delivering the mail or the receipts. Eventually, you can ignore them. You can claim they went to the wrong address, but they keep piling up. The routes established by empires, the economic imbalances created by extraction, the cultural ties forged by colonial education. They don't just vanish into thin air. They create pathways. They create desires. They create connections. And when those connections finally lead people back to the source of the initial movement, well, that's just the historical chickens coming home to roost, or the receipts finally arriving. Historians are typing angry emails as we speak. But it's important to remember, this isn't about blaming individuals. It's about understanding systems. It's about acknowledging a very long, very complicated chain of events that started centuries ago with Europe's own grand adventures of movement and settlement. Now, if only someone had told Europe to keep its own receipts. Was Europe's massive outward migration an act of noble exploration? Or was it the creation of a global system that would inevitably lead to people migrating back towards the wealth and opportunity it had so successfully accumulated? Now you know. See you in the next one.